Here we are at Wynnstay's trial plots, just on the outskirts of Weston Park on the Shropshire-Staffordshire border. We're going to be looking at all the different varieties that you're likely to be considering for sowing this coming autumn. And we'll start with the quality wheats, looking first at the Group 1 bread making wheats. Then we'll look at Group 2's biscuit wheats, and we'll move on to feed varieties. So starting with one or two varieties which are well known to people. Gallant is a little bit off the pace for yield now, getting quite a dirty variety, not likely to occupy a huge share of the market this time, possibly only 1% of the market at the moment, unless we see a bread maker come out and stand by the product or encourage people to grow it. I think it's going to fade away. It possibly still has a place where we need a very early variety to help spread the harvest workload. Gallant is the earliest maturing of the bread making varieties. Other than that, I think it's possibly had its day. Moving on to Crusoe, a very important wheat, occupies something like 7 or 8% of the UK wheat area at the moment, and very well liked by end users, well liked on farm. Its quality is similar to other Group 1s, but it has an inherent advantage in that its protein content is considerably higher than all the other Group 1s that we might look for. So anybody who's growing a few varieties of Group 1 would be very sensible to have Crusoe in the selection to help try and meet that 13% spec. And it's also a very popular variety because, as you can see, it's quite a clean variety. It's got this very vivid green colour. With one exception, it does get a little bit of brown rust in a brown rust year. It's short, stiff straw. There have been problems with purity in the last few years, with seed stocks being impure. It's got this very vivid green colour. Any waxy types like that one there do tend to show up pretty strongly. The breeders seem to have sorted that out now, so the stocks seem an awful lot purer. But for the true professional milling wheat grower, he's very likely to have Crusoe in the pick, mainly because of that protein advantage. It's a little bit off the pace for yield. It's 3% behind Skyfall for yield, so not quite up there with the very best. Interestingly, Gallant is 1% behind Crusoe for treated yield. When you look at the untreated yield, it's 17% behind Crusoe. So just very much identifies Crusoe's superior disease ratings. So here we have two more Group 1 varieties. Both look as though they've got a place, and one of them a very strong place. Both from RAGT. The first one we'll look at is Skyfall. Skyfall's characterised by these long skers, or almost like a bearded wheat. Was first introduced last year and had a very successful year of introduction. It already occupies about 10% of the UK wheat area. So it's been really the variety which is responsible from seeing the Group 1 area grow from about 14%, which we saw from for a long time, to over 20% of the UK area is now occupied by Group 1s. And that's mainly due to Skyfall, and it's for very good reason. Skyfall as a variety is within 1% of our most popular feed variety at the moment, JB Diego. So it isn't a variety just to be considered by Group 1 bread making wheat growers. I think most people would find a place for Skyfall. It's a solid variety. It has no major weaknesses. The only limitation we've got with it, it's quite a quick developing variety, so it really doesn't want to be sown before around about the 20th of September. Really the end of September onwards is the time to sow Skyfall because it has this vigorous development. It's not the highest in protein. It doesn't have Crusoe's protein level, but it's got the yield anyway. So if you grow it and it doesn't quite make the full spec, you haven't lost out on an awful lot of yield potential that you would have got from a feed variety. It's got solid disease ratings. It's got stiff straw. There's not an awful lot wrong with the variety. It's relatively early to mature. It's not as early as Gallant, but it's relatively early to mature, and it has had very few, but a few problems with sprouting. So once it is ready at harvest, it needs to be given priority. But the sprouting certainly isn't a big deal. It's just been seen on one or two sites in 1 year. So that's Skyfall, a really strong candidate for Group 1 growers and feed wheat growers because of the yield potential. From the same breeder, Illustrious is a slightly different animal. This one is possibly the best quality wheat we've seen since Hereward, and that's mentioned in the marketing or the advertising of the variety. So very similar quality to Hereward. Having said that, it's slightly behind Skyfall on yield. It's brand new on the recommended list, and it's possibly its quality that's got it there. It's 1% behind Skyfall for yield, and it's actually quite low in protein. So the millers or the end users seem to be able to use this variety at low protein levels, but we're yet to see how that percolates through the trade, and whether the premiums are docked in the same way that there would be for Group 1s at the lower protein levels. I suspect there will be, so it really needs the support of an end user to pull Illustrious through the system, because if you look at it in agronomic terms, I think Skyfall's possibly a slightly stronger package. Having said that, Illustrious is not a weak variety. I think it will probably prove to be a bit of a slow burner. It will, if it gets the industry support and recognises that its quality is better, it will eventually start to take over. There's a reasonable amount of seed available this time. There's about enough to do about 4 or 5% of the UK area, and there will be quite a lot talked about it. When we talk about protein content of these Group 1s, it's worth just identifying the difference in the different varieties. We're saying Crusoe has an inherent protein content of 12.4%, Skyfall is 11.8%, Illustrious has 11.5%. So it's going to take, and these are all high yielding varieties, it's really going to take some careful manipulation and careful management of the nitrogen strategy to feed these varieties, to get the top yield out of them, but also get them to achieve that Group 1 status. Right, we're now moving from the Group 1 bread making wheats into the Group 2 category. Just before we do that, we've got one variety which isn't in the plots here today. That's the variety Trinity from KWS, and it's it's a variety which equals Skyfall at the very top of the yields of the Group 1 bread making wheats, and it's not a bad variety at all. It's another one with a lower protein, so needs careful manipulation to get full spec, and the disease ratings are sort of swings and roundabouts. It's sort of better on some and poorer on others, but I think Trinity may just be in the shadow of Skyfall at the moment, and possibly Illustrious going forward. So moving now on to the Group 2 varieties. As we know, Group 2s covers a whole range of different qualities. KWS Lily is possibly sort of mid-range, lower to mid-range of the Group 2 qualities, but it's a variety which should appeal to an awful lot of growers. It's within 1 or 2% of the very top yielding feed varieties, and we're seeing a swing at the moment, and for very understandable reasons, where people are quite keen to maximise yield potential, but also hopefully add a little bit of value at the end of the day to boost the poor grain prices that we've got at the moment. And Lily's a perfect candidate to be able to do that. So right up there in terms of its very best yield levels. It doesn't have any major weaknesses. It's fairly stiff strawed, it's pretty good on disease. Last year it took about 5% of the wheat area. It seems to be better as a first wheat than a second wheat, so I'd use it mainly as a first wheat, and it seems to have its best performance on light land. So that's possibly the two areas to really concentrate on. But I think it's a very strong candidate for the feed wheat area as well as the quality wheat area. Would you spend the extra money on the extra late nitrogen to try and boost that protein? Possibly not. It's one of those to get in the barn, see what the quality ratings are. If it's worth a premium, it's a bonus. You've got a top yielding variety anyway. In some years, we all know, every now and again, years will come along where that quality will be worth having. There's no real holes to pick with it. If you were going to be particularly fussy, you'd say it's a little bit late in maturity. So that's the one weakness. If it has a weakness, it would be its late maturity. So that's KWS Lily. Cordial, not much we can say about Cordial that people don't already know. It has a following in the market. We know the quality is right up there in the top of the Group 2 level, almost at that Group 1 level, and those are the sort of premiums that it achieves. It's early. It's a decent wheat for creating an entry into oilseed rape, but it's not attracting new growers. So if you're growing cordial, you know about it. If you're not, you're probably going to look somewhere else for something else to grow. Right, we're in the quality wheat section, so we're looking still at Group 2 varieties, but we really shouldn't be. Siskin is rated as a Group 2 on the recommended list. It initially went on as a Group 4, and then there was an appeal process, and it was reinstated as a Group 2. Think of it as a feed variety. It's all about yield. Don't think of it as a quality wheat. There's only one variety on the recommended list which out-yields it, and that's KWS Silverstone, and that's weak straw. Nobody's going to grow Silverstone. It's the highest yielding variety. Other than that, it's one of only 2 varieties which offers a 7 for Septoria tritici, so it's very, very strong on Septoria tritici, and it's strong on most diseases with a possible exception of brown rust. When you look at the treated and the untreated section yield ratings, it only loses 9% when it doesn't have fungicides, so it's a very, very safe variety to grow. Not since we perhaps saw Diego being introduced have we seen a variety which seems so consistent. Wherever you grow it, first wheat, second wheat, light land, heavy land, it produces just about the same yield. This is likely to be the big impact variety for 2016, but don't think of it as a bread making wheat. If it has a weakness, it's possibly down to straw strength. It's rated as a 7, but it's only an average 7, and it will need a bit of help in very fertile situations. But to me, why wouldn't you grow it? Don't be put off and don't think, well, I can't store it separately. If you can't store it separately, put it in with your hard Group 4 feed varieties, and it doesn't matter. It's the top yielding variety other than Silverstone. So a very, very strong candidate for 2016 sowing.